I watched her stir cream into her coffee like it was a performance. Slow, dramatic, deliberately ignoring the fact that I just asked her where she was the night before. We sat across from each other at the kitchen island. Her nails were newly done. Sharp, nude-colored daggers tapping against the porcelain cup. That kind of detail is hard to forget when your mind is racing. I wasn't even supposed to be home that night. I had flown back early from a business trip in Dallas. She didn't know. I had planned to surprise her, maybe bring dinner, maybe actually try again. God knows why. Instead, I walked into a dark living room and her purse on the floor. Contents spilled like someone had been in a hurry to get undressed. Bedroom door half open. Voices. A man's laugh I didn't recognize. Then silence. I didn't make a sound, I just walked back out. Drove until sunrise. I never saw his face. But I heard her. That was enough. Now we were here, Tuesday morning, and I was playing a role I never auditioned for. The husband who knows everything and pretends he doesn't. She finally looked up. What do you mean, where was I? Her voice was light, like I was bothering her. She didn't even try to fake concern. I called. You didn't answer, I said. She blinked at me slowly. Right? I was with Claire. You know, girls' night. I literally told you this. Lie number 1. Claire was in Denver. I knew because I had lunch with her husband last week. That lie wasn't even clever, it was lazy. And lazy lies meant one thing. She didn't think I was worth the effort anymore. I could have exploded then. Flipped the whole table over and demanded names, times, confessions. But I didn't. Because I knew something she didn't. I had already seen the texts. A week ago, I noticed she started sleeping with her phone under her pillow, like a teenager hiding something. So I got into it while she was showering. Easy. Her password was my birthday. There were hundreds of messages, and not one of them was from anyone I knew. Different names, different numbers, some saved, some not, and one that stood out. Nick, the messages weren't graphic. They didn't need to be. They were specific, precise. They talked about our house, about when I'd be gone, about how they laughed when I left her that note on our anniversary saying, I still believe in us. That line came up twice. I sat on the kitchen stool and watched her. Noticed her gold necklace, a gift from me 2 Christmases ago, was now paired with a new charm I'd never seen. It was a silver triangle. Clean, stylish, meaningless. Until I found the same one in a photo sent to her last month. A man's chest. No face. No context. Just the charm, the triangle hanging over bare skin. You're quiet, she said, standing up and walking toward the fridge. You always get like this when you're stressed about work. I don't know why you don't just talk to me. She poured orange juice like we weren't standing in the middle of a silent hurricane. I was so aware of every sound, her feet moving, the fridge humming, the damn spoon clinking in her cup earlier. You're lying, I said, calm. No heat, just the fact dropped like a stone in water. She stopped mid-pour. Excuse me, I said, you're lying. Claire is in Denver. You weren't with her. So where were you? A moment passed. 2. She placed the juice back in the fridge. Closed the door too gently. Her smile returned. Tight-lipped. Are you spying on me now? Is that what this is? I didn't flinch. No. But you're going to tell me the truth now. She walked over and leaned against the counter like this was some petty argument about what movie to watch. You really want to do this before 9 a.m.? I want you to stop treating me like I'm stupid. That got to her. Her eyes narrowed just a bit. She tilted her head. You always do this. Get in your head, spiral over nothing. It's like you want to find something wrong with me. No, I said. I found something. It wasn't hard. You left it all right there. I could see the calculation in her face then. She was weighing her options. Deny? Cry? Yell? Play victim? The usual deck of tricks. She chose the one I didn't expect. Laughter. Short, bitter, effortless. You know what's funny? You think you're this perfect husband. But you're so boring it's offensive. You plan. You schedule. You send calendar invites for dinners like you're managing a company. Not a marriage. Do you know how exhausting it is to be with someone who doesn't even notice when his own wife is falling apart? I stood there, watching her dismantle the life I thought we were building, word by word. She wasn't even trying to lie now. She was rewriting the narrative entirely, making me the villain for not catching her sooner. I didn't cheat because I was bored, she said, walking past me, brushing my shoulder like I was a stranger in her way. I cheated because you don't exist unless someone asks you for a receipt or a tax form. I wanted to feel real again. And with him, I do. That was the first time she acknowledged him. Not a name, not a detail, just him. As if he was some romantic mystery, not the man I heard laughing in my house. I didn't say anything. I didn't ask who. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I stood still, anchored in a storm I'd been too blind to see forming. I went upstairs, closed the door to my office, and sat down with the folder, the one labeled Plan B, because what she didn't know, what no one knew, was that this wasn't the beginning of the end. It was the middle of the beginning, and I'd already spent 2 years preparing for it. I had rehearsed it 1,000 times in my head. What I'd say, how I'd act, how I'd pull the floor out from under her without even raising my voice. But when the moment actually came, I didn't say a word. Not yet. That morning, after she confessed just enough to feel powerful but not enough to take responsibility, she left. Just like that. Said she had errands. Didn't even ask if I was okay. Left me in that kitchen like I was an afterthought. So I opened the folder. Plan B wasn't some rage-fueled fantasy or paranoid scrapbook. It was precise, documented, organized, labeled. I started it a month after our first real fight about fidelity. Years ago, when I found a flirtatious message on her phone, and she swore it was just a joke with a client. I didn't believe her then, but I had no proof. And that was the problem. No proof meant I had no control. So I built it piece by piece. Bank statements, credit card charges that didn't make sense, receipts for lunches she never mentioned, hotel bookings for work trips that had no trace of conferences. I installed a keylogger on our shared laptop when she stopped letting me use hers. I mirrored her phone backups quietly every few months. Nothing illegal, just quiet survival. She wasn't just unfaithful. She was methodical. She had burner apps disguised as photo galleries, deleted chat threads, private browsers. But even the best liars slip when they get too confident. And she had become very, very confident. That was her mistake. By the time she pulled out of the driveway, I already had the name. Not Nick. That had been a decoy. The real one was Marcus, a coworker from her last job, the one she quit suddenly 8 months ago. That's when the affair really began. Not because she wanted to hide it better, but because she didn't need a cover anymore. She didn't need a job. She had me, paying the mortgage, covering her car, paying off her credit cards like a dutiful idiot. I took out a flash drive, plugged it in. Inside, copies of every file, photo, transaction. The entire history of a woman living 2 lives. One as my wife, the other as his fantasy. And now came the strategy. See, what the lawyer told me last year changed everything. If you divorce her now without solid evidence, you're walking straight into financial ruin. Alimony, assets split, possibly even the house. You need leverage. Real leverage. So I built it. But I didn't just want the marriage to end. That would be too merciful. I wanted her to feel something for once. Not guilt, that was beyond her. But panic. Loss. The same helplessness she weaponized against me for years. And I had just the plan. That day I called her father. We hadn't spoken in a year. He always liked me. More than he liked his own daughter, frankly. I told him I had something to show him. Told him not to tell her. Then I called her old job. Got the name of her former manager. Asked a few subtle questions. Turns out she left under odd circumstances. They didn't say more, but I didn't need more. I just needed the tone. I wasn't going to expose her yet. No, this wasn't the part where the sky falls. This was the part where I tightened the screws quietly. By the time she returned that evening, all smiles and fake normalcy, the trap was already set. She kissed me on the cheek like she hadn't gutted me 12 hours earlier. Like I didn't know everything. "You want to order Thai?" she asked. I nodded. "Sure. Let's have a quiet night in." She smiled, thinking she'd won. Thinking I was weak. But what she didn't see, what she never saw, was that I'd already taken the first piece off the board. And soon, the whole game would belong to me. That night, I laid next to her in bed and listened to her breathe like nothing was broken between us. Her phone buzzed once. Silent mode as always, and she rolled over to check it, shielding the screen like she had for years. I didn't even flinch, because by then, I had already seen what the message said. I had installed a sync between her phone and my tablet 3 weeks prior. Everything that hit her screen hit mine too. The message was from Marcus. I miss your hands. No emojis. No baby or love or I can't wait to see you. Just that. Direct. Feral. And she smiled at it. I watched her smile. That same smile she used to give me when we were still real. She typed something back quickly. Screen tilted away. My tablet lit up 3 seconds later. Thursday night. He's flying to Chicago. Come through after 9. That was it. That was the thread I'd been waiting for. Let me be clear. I wasn't looking for a chance to catch them. I already had more than enough to destroy the illusion she'd been selling. But I needed something live. Something recent. Something with a date and time I could use like a knife. And now I had it. Thursday. 3 nights from now. What she didn't know, what made all of this even more perfect, was that I wasn't going to Chicago at all. The trip existed on her calendar. The ticket was real. My suitcase would be packed. She'd kiss me goodbye at the airport. But I wouldn't be on that plane. I had booked a hotel downtown, not far from our house. I would check in, leave the car in the lot, let her think I was gone. Then I'd come back. But not through the front door. I called a locksmith the next morning. Said I'd lost the key to the back gate and needed a replacement. Paid cash. No receipt. I already had a duplicate made of the garage keypad months ago. She didn't know I had changed the passcode settings to my own phone. Technology makes betrayal so much easier than it used to be. On Wednesday, she got her nails done. A different color. Black. Her bold phase. I'd seen it before. Whenever she felt confident, unstoppable, wanted. Like she was rebelling against a cage no one put her in. I took her out to dinner that night. I know how that sounds, but it was important. She had to believe that I was still in that naive, pathetic state of denial. That I still thought we had something worth saving. She wore the necklace again, the one with the silver triangle. I told her she looked beautiful. She raised her eyebrow, suspicious at first. Then pleased. You're finally starting to notice again, she said. The gall of it. Like I had been the one who disappeared. After dinner, she initiated affection for the first time in months. I played along. Let her lean against me on the couch. Let her hold my hand. Every fake gesture felt like another coat of gasoline. But I held steady, because Thursday was coming. And when it came, it arrived without a single glitch. She kissed me goodbye at 4:45 p.m. Call me before you board, she said. I nodded. I will. She drove me to the airport. We didn't speak much. Just a few safe words like actors at the end of a scene. I walked into the terminal, waited until she pulled away, then turned around and left through the back. 30 minutes later, I was checked into my hotel. 8 hours after that, I stood in the shadows behind my own garage. Gloves on, camera ready. A spare phone rolling video from the bushes by the back window. 9:14 p.m. A car pulled into the driveway. Not Marcus. Someone else. Different plate. Different car. The third man. She met him outside. They kissed like they'd done it 100 times. I didn't even feel surprised anymore. I felt clarity. This wasn't about betrayal anymore. This was about extraction. About control. And soon it would be about consequences. Because what she never saw, what she never even imagined, is that the entire time she thought she was playing me, she was moving exactly where I needed her to be. And I was done waiting. I didn't follow them. I didn't storm into the house or scream or demand anything. That would have ruined everything. Rage is for amateurs. What I needed was documentation. The man, tall, early 40s, maybe ex-military from the way he stood, entered my house with the ease of someone who'd done it before. No hesitation. No introductions. Just walked in and let the door close behind him like he lived there. I caught it all on 2 cameras. One from the bushes, one through the kitchen window, perched in a planter. Night vision. 1080p sound. I watched them kiss. I watched her take his coat, laugh at something stupid he said, and walk with him into the living room. Like it was a date. Like it was a ritual. She was running a whole second life out of my house. The house I built. The mortgage I paid. The walls I painted with my own damn hands. At 10:26 p.m., the camera in the kitchen caught them sitting close on the couch, wine in hand. That cheap grocery store bottle she always pretended to hate. The kind she only ever opened when she thought I was gone. She leaned her head on his shoulder. He kissed her temple. I turned off the live feed. I didn't need to see more. Not because it hurt. That part had already burned to the ground weeks ago. I turned it off because now I had enough to end her. I spent the night at the hotel, not sleeping, not even trying. I organized the footage, synced timestamps, labeled each file like I was prepping for court because I was. The morning after, I met with the lawyer again. Dropped a hard drive on his desk and watched his eyebrows rise like I just handed him a golden ticket. "This isn't evidence," he said. "This is strategy." He was grinning now. We went over everything. The assets in my name. The joint accounts. The timing. The fact that I had proof she brought a man into our home while we were still married. In a state where adultery still matters in divorce proceedings. She didn't know that. She assumed we lived in a world where people get away with this. By the time I left his office, I had orders for the bank to freeze our shared savings temporarily. Not withdraw, just freeze. Legal, quiet, painless. That same afternoon, I stopped by her father's place. He lived alone, near the river, retired military himself. Tough man. Never liked lies. I showed him the footage. He didn't say much, just watched. When it ended, he looked at me and asked one question. "How long's this been going on?" "Too long." He nodded. She always was good at hiding things, even from me. I could see it in his eyes. He didn't defend her, didn't excuse it, just shook his head like a man watching a bridge burn he helped build. I left him with a copy of the footage and a sealed envelope. Then I made one last stop. Her mother's florist shop. I never liked the woman. Cold, controlling, played favorites and never hid it. But I walked in anyway, smiled politely, and handed her a manila envelope. "What's this?" she asked. "Evidence," I said, "of who your daughter really is." She scoffed. "Don't play the victim. I told her you'd be boring." I leaned in. "I'm not boring. I'm patient." Then I walked out. By that evening, her world had been set on fire, and she didn't even smell the smoke yet. She came home like she always did, tossed her purse on the table, kicked off her shoes, yelled upstairs that she was ordering takeout. She had no idea her father had already called her and left a message she hadn't checked. No idea her mother had already read the letter I included with the photos. No idea the money was already frozen. She thought she was untouchable. So I sat there, in the living room, waiting for her to come downstairs. And when she finally did, holding the menu in her hand, asking if I wanted sushi or Chinese, I said, "We need to talk." She froze. Her eyes searched my face, looking for cues, signs of weakness. She didn't find any. "We talked already," she said, flipping the menu open. "I thought we were past this." "No," I said. "You thought I was stupid." She smirked without looking up. "Are we really doing this again?" I pulled the envelope out from under the table and slid it across to her. She stared at it, didn't touch it. "What's this?" "Your performance review." She didn't flinch, just rolled her eyes and opened it. And the second she saw the still frames, photos of her and Marcus, her and the other guy, her face from the video timestamped undeniable, her whole body stilled. Silence. Then came the scoff. "You've been spying on me?" "No," I said. "I've been surviving you." That was the moment. The first time she looked at me like she didn't recognize the man across from her. Like she'd finally realized she wasn't the only one capable of playing the long game. But it wasn't over yet, because I had one more card to play. She stared at the photos like they were lies she could somehow negotiate with. Her fingers twitched slightly, like she wanted to crumple them, but knew that any sudden move would make her look weaker. So instead, she sat back in the chair, calm, pretending, resting one leg over the other like she was the one still in control. "You really went through all this trouble just to embarrass me?" she asked, voice sharp now colder. "No," I said. "I went through all this trouble to prepare for the exact moment you would lie to my face and act like nothing happened." She shook her head with a bitter laugh, eyes narrowing like slits. "So what now? You think you're gonna win? You think this makes you a man? What, gathering evidence like you're solving a crime? Grow up." "I'm not trying to win," I said, standing. "I'm just making sure you lose." Her face cracked for the first time, not because of fear, but because her default weapon, contempt, was no longer landing. It bounced right off me, She couldn't get under my skin anymore, and she hated it. You really think this little exposé is going to matter? She hissed. You think dragging my name through the mud will get you more in court? I'll spin this so fast they'll think you were abusive. There it was. I leaned closer, lowering my voice. You already tried the gaslight routine. This isn't about perception anymore. It's about facts. You brought multiple men into our house. I've got it in high resolution, dated, timed. The judge doesn't need drama. He needs records. You gave me plenty. She opened her mouth to speak, then hesitated. I walked away. I'm filing Monday, I added. No discussion. I'm not interested in your apologies, your damage control, or your lawyers. You'll get a copy of the documents when they're served. I'll bleed you dry, she called after me. You have no idea who you're dealing with. That made me pause. Oh, I know exactly who I'm dealing with. That's why I've been planning this for 2 years. Her eyes widened. Not a little. Completely. Like she just realized I hadn't reacted in real time to her betrayal. I had anticipated it. She'd always believed she was unpredictable, untouchable. Now she was realizing she'd been dancing in a theater with a trapdoor built beneath her feet. I walked out of the room, got in my car, drove to a place she didn't know existed. A storage unit under a fake name I'd been renting for 18 months. Inside, duplicates of every file, video, statement, and record. Stored physically and digitally. Multiple drives. Cloud backups. Password protected. Two-factor authenticated. I wasn't just thinking about divorce anymore. I was preparing for war. That night, she called my phone 17 times. Left 5 voicemails. 1 threatening, 3 fake crying, 1 silent. I didn't answer a single one. I listened to the last one once. You're blowing everything up, she whispered into the speaker. Do you know how alone you'll be? Do you know how many people are going to hate you for this? I hit delete. Alone? I'd already been alone for years. I just hadn't realized it because I was sleeping beside the enemy. By Saturday, the fallout began. Her father called again. I didn't answer. He sent a text. She came by, screaming. Said you betrayed her. I told her to grow up. Then Claire messaged me. Yes, that Claire, the one she used as an alibi. Claire. She's saying you manipulated her. That you planted everything. That she was emotionally vulnerable. You okay? Me? I'm good. But tell her this. Next time she lies, she better check who's watching. Claire never replied. But she didn't have to. By Sunday, the silence was loud. No more voicemails. No texts. Just the last breath before the storm. And I was ready. Because when I stepped into the lawyer's office on Monday, I handed him everything. I didn't just want a clean break. I wanted to make sure she walked away with nothing she hadn't earned. That meant no house, no savings, no sympathy. She could keep the lies. I was keeping the truth. The papers were filed at 9:03 a.m. on a Monday. By 9:47, her lawyer called mine and tried to float a counteroffer before she had even been officially served. Panic move. She must have gotten wind that I wasn't bluffing. That this wasn't some emotional stunt to win her back or get revenge with flair. This was architecture. Quiet, calculated dismantling. Her counter was almost laughable. She wanted to revisit financial division and propose a mutual no-fault clause to avoid media or family damage. Her words. Not a single mention of the affair. Not a single apology. Just concern about the optics. The image she'd spent years building, successful, edgy, independent, was beginning to show cracks. By lunch, I had a voicemail from her mother. The same woman who sneered at me in her flower shop 4 days earlier. She left it like she was checking in on a sick neighbor. She's not doing well. She hasn't left her apartment. She says you're trying to ruin her. I didn't call back. She hadn't been doing well the moment she decided the vows she spoke to me were just noise. I had spent too long being the background character in her story. That role had been cut from the script. At 3:12 p.m., she showed up at my office. Unannounced. My assistant buzzed me. Your wife is here, ex-wife? I don't know. Should I? Send her in, I said, calm, even bored. She came in wearing a full mask of performance. Big sunglasses, styled hair, carefully torn denim jacket that probably cost more than my rent in college. Her hands shook just enough to betray the act. She shut the door behind her. I want to talk. You're not supposed to be here. Since when do you follow rules? She snapped. I didn't respond. Just sat down behind my desk and let her unravel herself. You really want to blow everything up like this? Publicly? Like a reality show? It's not public, I said. Not yet. You think anyone knows? You think your friends got a group text from me? No. But you know what's funny? They're already asking questions. That hit. She bit her lip, crossed her arms, paced once. Okay, she said. Fine. I messed up. Is that what you want? I messed up. I was lonely. You were checked out. I needed something. I didn't know how to talk to you anymore. You didn't try. Yes, I did, she shouted. I gave you so many chances. I dropped hints. I said we were off. You never listened. You're not describing marriage, I said. You're describing customer service. Hints? Feedback? If you wanted out, you could have just said it. But you wanted both. The safety and the thrill. She was breathing harder now. She took the sunglasses off. Her eyes were red, not from tears, but from not sleeping. From unraveling. You're not innocent either, she hissed. You think you're better than me because you waited. Because you filmed me. That's sick. No, I said quietly. What's sick is thinking you can use a man's loyalty like a doormat. What's sick is inviting strangers into a home built on lies and then blaming the man who noticed. You didn't fall. You dove. Silence. She leaned on the desk now. Her voice dropped. Do you want to see me suffer? Is that it? No, I said. I want to see you accountable. That's different. She didn't expect that answer. Not from me. Not from the man she used to steamroll. She stood upright, stared at me for a long second, then spoke. I'm going to fight this. You know that, right? I won't let you make me the villain. I stood up too. You're not the villain because I'm making you one. You're the villain because you wrote that role yourself. I just bought the rights to the story. She left without slamming the door. That told me she was recalibrating, measuring her next move. She wasn't used to losing. She wasn't used to consequences. That night, I got a call from Marcus. Blocked number. I answered. Hey man, he said. Listen, I don't know what she told you, but I didn't know she was still married. She said you were separated. I hung up. Didn't need the apology. Didn't need the explanation. Didn't need anything from anyone connected to her. Because the next phase wasn't about confrontation. It was about conversion. Turning every lie she ever told into weight that would drag her down in court. Turning every fake smile, every manipulation, every text she deleted into bricks in a wall that would close in around her. And I hadn't even opened the financial folder yet. That one? That was next. The financial folder was the crown jewel of this entire operation. It wasn't just a collection of statements and spreadsheets. It was a curated gallery of irresponsibility, deceit, and indulgence. I had compiled it over 18 months, at first because I was suspicious, then because I knew. There were purchases she never explained. Cash withdrawals from cities she never told me she'd visited, deposits from unknown sources, and gift receipts that had never passed through our door. Every transaction was cross-referenced, labeled, color-coded. I had a separate file just for the clothes. Expensive, sometimes designer, never worn at home, always tagged as returns on her calendar, but never refunded to our account. That was the trick. She didn't think I checked the statements. Most people don't. She once spent $1,200 at a high-end boutique in Chicago during a conference. I was supposed to be in Houston that week, so we didn't talk much. Turns out I was in the wrong state and the wrong marriage. The most damning part wasn't what she bought. It was how she funded it. See, 6 months into my quiet investigation, I realized our joint account had regular incoming transfers. $600 here, $400 there, from a personal PayPal account I didn't recognize. It wasn't mine. She didn't use PayPal, or so she claimed. I traced it, took some effort, hired a guy I knew in cybersecurity, paid in cash off the books. He dug. Took weeks, but he cracked it. The account belonged to Marcus. Not the Marcus I thought, the coworker she'd kissed. A different Marcus. Same name, different man. That's when I realized she wasn't cheating with a man. She was cheating with a network. She had men orbiting her like moons around a planet. Some she saw, some she milked. All of them thought they were special. She was freelancing emotional intimacy like it was a subscription service. My lawyer nearly choked when I handed him the report. "She's dead in the water," he said. "We're not talking about just adultery anymore. We're talking about financial fraud, misappropriation, and moral misconduct, all in one shot. If we frame this right, she walks away with nothing, not even her name. And we did frame it. We filed a motion for asset protection. I submitted a sworn declaration. The judge approved a temporary freeze not just on shared accounts, but on hers too, pending further investigation. My lawyer sent her attorney the full documentation and included a message I helped write. We are open to a quiet settlement. If she wishes to avoid a courtroom, she will agree to the following: full forfeiture of claim to the marital house, zero alimony, and mutual severance of all joint property. If she declines, we proceed to court with full evidence, witnesses, and a complete financial audit. That message hit her inbox at 11:15 a.m. on Wednesday. By 11:32, I had 3 missed calls from her. At 11:47, she was on my doorstep. No sunglasses this time, no jacket, just her, pale, lips pressed into a line, trembling slightly. "You can't do this," she said. "No hello, no pretense." I already did. She stepped inside uninvited. I didn't stop her. Let her feel like she still had some control. "You're trying to destroy me." "No," I said. "I'm showing everyone who you are. You destroyed yourself." She dropped the act then. The walls broke. Tears came, not theatrical, not manipulative. Real, raw, desperate. "I don't have anywhere to go," she said. "My parents won't take me. Claire's blocking my calls. You've turned everyone against me." "No," I said. "They're just seeing what I refused to for years." She sank into the couch, looked small for the first time. "I didn't mean for this to happen," she whispered. I sat down across from her. "You meant for me to stay blind. You meant for me to keep paying, smiling, trusting. You meant for me to carry everything so you could dance through life like nothing touched you. But you never meant to get caught. That's what you regret." She didn't deny it. Couldn't. Then she looked up. One last attempt. A flicker of the girl I married. Back when I still thought love was enough to fix people. "What if we start over?" she said. "What if we just burn it all down and rebuild?" I stood. "That's what I'm doing. Just without you in the picture." I handed her an envelope. Inside, the settlement offer. She didn't open it. Just sat there. Defeated. Furious. Hollow. "You're not the man I married," she said. A final strike meant to wound. "You're right," I said, walking toward the door. "The man you married would have forgiven you. I buried him the night you let someone else sleep in his bed." I opened the door. "Take the deal, or take your chances in court. Either way, you're out." She walked out slowly, envelope clutched in her hand like a death sentence. And just like that, for the first time in years, the house felt clean. It wasn't over yet, but she finally understood. This wasn't about saving a marriage. It was about reclaiming myself. 2 days passed. 2 days of silence that felt louder than any argument we ever had. Her lawyer didn't respond. She didn't respond. No calls. No messages. Nothing. Which told me exactly what I needed to know. She was cornered. She wasn't planning a comeback. She was planning a pivot. The kind of manipulation that comes wrapped in vulnerability. An attempt to shift the narrative without addressing the damage. I knew her patterns too well to fall for it, so I kept moving. Friday morning, my lawyer and I scheduled the next step. The forensic accountant review. It was surgical. Every penny she had touched, every transfer, every Venmo payment she thought was invisible was about to be dragged into sunlight. The real goal? To trace where the money went and, more importantly, who she gave it to. If even one of those payments crossed state lines for the purpose of supporting someone else while legally married to me, she wouldn't just lose in court. She'd be obliterated. But then came the twist. At 6:42 p.m. that evening, she called. I let it ring out. She called again. Then texted, "I signed. I'll drop it off tomorrow. But I need to talk to you. Just once. Please." I ignored it. The next morning, a manila envelope was slid under my front door. Inside, the signed settlement offer. No note, no message. Just the signature, clean, heavy, final. It should have been a moment of satisfaction, the climax of months of planning. But instead, I just sat there, staring at it, feeling a strange stillness. Because the war was over, and I had won. But winning against someone you once loved doesn't feel like victory. It feels like excavation, like finding pieces of yourself buried under lies you didn't plant, but still had to dig up with your own hands. That afternoon, I went back to the storage unit, collected everything, all the files, drives, photos, documents, notes, packed them into a locked box and drove to the outskirts of town. There's a landfill there, fenced off and quiet. I paid a worker $50 to let me toss in what he thought was just office junk. I stood over the edge of the pit, opened the box, and let the pages fly. They scattered like ash, receipts, texts, maps, timestamps. All of it. Not because I needed to forget, but because I no longer needed the weight. When I got home, there was another envelope waiting in the mailbox. No name, no return address. Inside, a handwritten letter. From her. The handwriting was shaky, rushed. A mix of rage and regret bled into the paper. No apology, no confession, just a monologue about how I changed, how I weaponized silence, how I chose ego over compassion, how I acted like the victim when I was just as cold. She ended it with, "You may have won this round, but you'll never find someone who loved you like I did." I read that sentence 5 times. Then I smiled, because it was the most honest thing she'd ever written. She never loved me in the way I needed. She loved me in the way she understood love. Possession, attention, leverage. And when she lost control of me, she mistook it for betrayal. But it wasn't betrayal. It was liberation. I burned the letter in the sink, watched the words curl and vanish. And when the ashes hit the water, I felt something new settle in my chest. Not anger, not relief, just space. Space for something better. Not someone, just something real. It's strange how quiet the world becomes when a storm finally passes. No phone calls, no footsteps upstairs, no whisper of someone moving in the hallway pretending they're not lying to your face. The house, for the first time in years, breathed with me instead of against me. But peace isn't the same as healing. It's just the space where healing begins. A week after she signed the settlement, I got an email. Not from her. From him. Marcus. Not one of the others. The Marcus. The one I'd initially believed was the only one. The first breadcrumb. The catalyst. He wrote, "I know you probably don't want to hear from me, and I respect that. But I owe you something. I didn't know she was still married when it started. She told me you two were basically separated, that you were staying for the paperwork and the mortgage. She lied to me, too. I walked away 6 months ago when I found out. Just thought you should know. Whatever she told you, you deserve better." It wasn't a plea for forgiveness. It wasn't even a man trying to absolve himself. It was someone who got caught in the same spiderweb I did and finally realized it. I didn't respond. Not because I hated him, but because I didn't anymore. He was just another passenger on a ship that was sinking long before either of us knew we were on board. The same day, her mother called. I debated not answering, but something made me pick up. "She's moved in with a friend," she said bluntly. "She's not doing well. Not that you care." "I don't," I replied. "I just thought you should know she's been telling people you manipulated her. That you were obsessive, controlling, emotionally unstable." "I'm not surprised," I said. "She doesn't have many left who believe it," she added. "But she'll keep talking. You know that, right?" "Yes," I said. "But now she's just shouting into a room where nobody's listening." I hung up. That night, I took down the last photo of us. It had been hanging in the hallway for years. One of those vacation pictures people post with fake captions like, "My rock," or "My everything." It had always bothered me. Her smile in that picture didn't match the moment. I remembered it too clearly. She'd yelled at me 15 minutes before that shot was taken. Accused me of making the trip about work. Then she posed like nothing had happened. I took it out of the frame, tore it in half, burned it without ceremony. And for the first time, the wall felt honest. Later that week, the divorce was finalized. My lawyer shook my hand, said, "You did the impossible. Most men in your position either snap or cave. You outmaneuvered her." I nodded. But what I didn't say was this. It wasn't about outmaneuvering her. It was about remembering who I was before her. She took more than time and money. She took focus. She turned me into a man who second-guessed himself every day, who asked permission to speak, who apologized for things he hadn't done just to avoid fights he didn't start. But piece by piece, plan by plan, I took it all back. Now I wake up in silence. But it's a good silence. A clean silence. The kind that isn't waiting to explode. There's still fallout. Friends who don't know the full story. People who say, we never expected this from her. Like she was the one who got left behind. But I don't correct them. Let them wonder. Let them speculate. Because I don't need to prove anything anymore. I lived it. I survived it. And I'm still here. It's been 3 months since the papers were signed. The dust hasn't just settled. It's become part of the foundation now. Life moves forward whether you're ready or not. And I am. Finally, I've started repainting the house. Not because I needed a change of scenery, but because I needed to purge everything that carried her fingerprints. The bedroom is no longer a shrine to a shared past. Her scent is gone. Her clothes, her books, her chaos. And in their place, stillness. You'd be surprised how loud stillness can be when you've lived for years in a constant thrum of deception. Now, every silence feels like a clean breath. I changed jobs. Lateral move technically. Less money, but more freedom. I don't wake up tense anymore. I don't drive home with a knot in my stomach wondering what version of her will be waiting on the other side of the door. There is no door anymore. She's not behind it. Some mutual acquaintances reached out. People who hadn't picked sides but watched from a distance. Some offered sympathy. Others tried to poke around for gossip, hoping to fill the blanks with drama. I gave them nothing. Because here's the truth. The revenge wasn't the point. It was just the mechanism. The real victory was seeing her without the filter. Seeing how easily she collapsed once the control was gone. Once her manipulation couldn't anchor itself to my guilt, my love, my history with her. She had no center. Just performance. And performances don't survive when the audience stops clapping. I never blasted her name online. I never uploaded the videos. I didn't need to. The point was never public humiliation. The point was removal. Extraction. She doesn't call anymore. Not since her friend, someone I barely knew, texted me a month ago saying, "She says you broke her." No, she broke herself. I just stopped catching the pieces. I started seeing someone. Slowly. No titles. No rushing. We sit on the back porch sometimes and don't even talk. Just listen to the wind move through trees I never had the peace to notice before. She doesn't pry. Doesn't chase ghosts. She just exists beside me like she belongs there. And I don't flinch anymore when someone touches my phone or when a message lights up a screen. That alone feels like a kind of rebirth. So here's what I'll say to anyone reading this. Anyone sitting in the fog, sensing the betrayal but too afraid to say it out loud. Trust the silence more than the noise. If something feels wrong, it is. If you're begging someone to be honest, they're already lying. And if you think walking away will ruin you, I promise, it's staying that'll finish the job. You're not crazy. You're not overreacting. You're just waking up. I woke up. I pulled the threads. I saw the whole machine behind her smile. And I didn't burn her life down. She lit the match. I just let it burn. Now I walk away with my name intact, my dignity restored, and a future finally mine again. Not everyone gets that ending. But if you're reading this, you still can. Just stop waiting for a better lie. Start building your better truth.